Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Content Marketing Institute's weekly webinar. We've got another great one for you all today, a really good one. I'm Stephanie Stahl, General Manager at CMI. Got two guests here who are going to give you so many great tips. We're going to talk about content gaps and really great ways to help better serve your audiences with your content marketing. So get ready to take notes. I promise you there are going to be a lot of great takeaways. You're going to want to take notes, so get that ready. Also, a few logistics before we start. You can ask questions at any time. Just put the question in the Q&A box, hit submit, comes right to us. We'll try to answer as many as we can after the presentation. The slides will advance automatically, nothing for you to do there. If you look for that folder widget on the console there are some additional resources that you can check out and take along with you. And in about 24 hours or so, we'll send you a link to today's live recording. You can view it on demand. If you want to catch up with some of the details, watch it again, share it with a colleague, it will be waiting in your inbox. All right, welcome to the virtual stage. Today we have Andy Crestodina, who is co-founder and CMO of Orbit Media. How are you, Andy?
Very good, Steph. Glad to be here.
So good to see you. And we have William Singh, who is the Director of Sales Engineering at LucidWorks. Welcome, William.
Thank you. Very glad to be here. Happy Wednesday.
Happy Wednesday. It is a good Wednesday. So, Andy, we'll turn it over to you, and then I will see you both at the end for some audience Q&A.
Sounds very good. Thank you for that. And jumping right in, there are a massive range of sources for topics and inspiration. So many different ways that that drive the content strategy, ways that we get insights, ways that we get ideas. Sometimes our teams give us ideas. Sometimes there's a powerful executive who says we should write something. Sometimes it's our clients pushing us toward a topic. Of all the different sources of ideas for topics and for content, I'm going to suggest another one. If you haven't used it yet, you're going to get a how-to step-by-step. Nothing skipped. I'm going to show you exactly where to click through to get it. Insights from data on how to make decisions about what to publish next. I want you all to be more confident in your decision about what to do. And in fact, to go have a better meeting. One of the values of using analytics or using data is that your meetings get better. You go have next time you get a question, you can answer it with data, or you can support your hypotheses, or that inspiration, you can back it up with a chart or two. I think that's one of the beautiful and rarely discussed wonderful things about analytics is that it helps you go have better meetings, because without some data, it's just like, one person's opinion versus another opinion. So let's jump in. We're going to find content gaps. I'm going to show you specifically how to identify what and vet an idea to help before you invest time in that topic by using data. I'm going to just kind of warm up with a couple of basic things. We're going to use First Analytics to just find which of the things that we've already published were the most engaging. Not necessarily a content gap, unless that was a kind of an independent piece that wasn't connected to other pieces. That often happens. But this is where we look in analytics to simply find the performance of content in terms of its engagement. So I'm looking at a screenshot of analytics. This is just the behavior, site content, all pages report. You can filter this if all of your blog content or content marketing program is in the similar folder. Just add the filter for that folder. And then it's going to show you just those. So here now I'm just looking at blog posts because it's very easy. They're all in one place. And now I'm going to actually evaluate these against each other, like using an engagement metric. Now, I could do these things in GA4. I'm not getting tons of questions yet about GA4. I honestly feel like it's a little bit early for that. There's 11 months left, so we've got lots of runway here for universal analytics. I want you to go be able to do these things tomorrow. It's very likely you all have universal analytics set up. GA4 is another topic, another day. If you switch to the comparison view, it's going to show you the performance of these against everything else on the website against any metric. So I've just selected an engagement metric, such as average time on page, and now it's going to show me basically how popular these pages are compared to other content. And that should give me an idea, these things are interesting to my audience. What do they have in common? What patterns can you find? Are these all similar in some way? Do they all have a similar format? Maybe these are the ones video. They have a similar collaborative element. These are the ones where we partner with influencers. These were the roundups. Were these all on a similar topic? That's going to help you support the idea of publishing more on that topic, to go deeper on that topic. So go publish more on those more engaging topics, do more to promote the very engaging things that maybe don't have a lot of traffic yet. Let's keep those in heavy social rotation or send another email with those. And maybe some of those are the ones where we go deeper into the topic by publishing in an alternate format, like let's put a video out there. These are exactly the posts that people are into, right? I didn't guess. I looked at all of them all at once, and now I have data. Similarly, you can actually check to see which of your blog categories, if your site has categories, are getting the most engagement. In the end, you end up concluding like analytics is sort of like a giant survey tool, and it's surveying all your audience all the time. And if that drop down where the person chooses from a blog category is really like a little survey, we're going to see which ones people click on the most. Where the word blog was showing us the relative popularity of our blog posts, now I just need to enter something into the filter that shows just the categories. If all your category pages are in a common folder, it might just be /categories. On my site, we're using that super popular WordPress faceted search thing. So it's that's the thing that all my blog posts have in common, all my blog category pages have in common. So there they are. There they are. It's a prioritized list based on what my audience has been clicking on for which blog categories are the most interesting to my that people are choosing when they're on this website. Very, very interesting, kind of useful. And there's where I found that. If I click on any of the categories, I can see that up there. It's a WordPress plugin that's called, it's like a Facets, WordPress Facets or something. Anyway, the idea there is that you can now go double down on those top categories. Everyone likes these. This is one 10x more popular than everything else. That should probably inform our content strategy, or we should do more on those topics. Hey, nobody ever clicks on this. And they got a tough choice, right? Maybe abandon it, give up on that, or maybe just rename it, try something else. And then really, if you find top categories are so much more overwhelmingly powerful and attractive to your audience than anything else, why don't we put those in the call to action? Because apparently that's what people think of when they think of you. If I had a blog about castles and medieval defense, and everyone clicks on the castles and forts category, I'm going to put castles and forts into the call to action because my visitors are telling me that that's really what they want from me. The promise that you make in the email sign-up call to action has everything to do with the conversion rate, the percentage of people who subscribe, everything to do with list growth, therefore everything to do with email success, and therefore everything to do with decoupling yourself from search and social, which are big tech and giant monopolies in between you and your visitor. We are all obsessed with email for this reason. We want to, it's disintermediation. You can talk to them directly. How do you do that? Some compelling call to action. How do you find that? I just use data. Just now I just used data to find that. It's an idea. But there are 3 magical places for finding topics that where your audience is literally typing into a box what they want from you. These are special. They're typing into a box what they want from you. I know of only 3 places on the internet where this happens. One of them is your site search. Not visitors coming from Google. What are your current visitors on your website now, right? Wouldn't be weird if while we're talking today, someone's on your site right now and their fingers are moving toward the keyboard in that little site search box. They're typing something in. What are they typing in? Well, you put that box there to be a service to them, help find something quickly, right? Very nice of you. That's great. UX is important. But also, it's a listening tool. Not everyone realizes this or has gone to check the report. This is a listening tool to find out what people want from you. Now, to set it up, I've done this before. The technique hasn't changed. Here's a travel website. This travel website is a search tool. You can see it there at the top. I need to set up the search tool in analytics. And to do so, it's in the view settings. In the view settings, you toggle the turn site search on, and then you put in the query parameter for your site search tool. The internet works on parameters. It's all the stuff that appears in the URL after the .com or after the domain. To find out what your query parameter is, just go search for something on your website. And then you're going to see the search term. Almost certainly, you'll see the search term up in the address bar. Before that, whatever the blank equals, before that, that's your query parameter. So we're going to put the query, and random internet trivia, Google's query parameter is Q, not uncommon. So what we're going to do is we're going to put the query parameter into that little box, and now we're going to get data about what people are typing in. It's in behavior, site search terms. This is everything that anyone ever typed in that box. Amazing listening tool. This is data-driven empathy. I'm showing you how to find out what people really want from you. So if we combine this with another report that shows data from a different report that shows as a secondary dimension, the exit page, where are people leaving? It's a fun combination. when the primary dimension is search terms, what people typed into the box. The secondary dimension is exit page. From which page did people leave? You're going to find phrases that people searched for in your own search tool, and then they left without clicking on anything. There's actually an easier way to do this. If you scroll over to the right, you can see I've got the percent search exits is more than 90%. Same thing. People are searching for this, but then leaving without clicking on anything. This is the report of broken dreams. It's a list of phrases for which you are unsatisfied. It's things your audience wants from you that you're not giving them. So it's an obvious content gap. Plain as day, right? This site needs a packing list. Now, another way to get insights from that is to not look at the exit page, but the start page. So while you're looking at the search terms, if you add a secondary dimension for start page, everyone's trying to opt out. What page isn't helping them, right? What's wrong with this person's experience? Dozens of them, right? People searching for this page, but from where? From where did they search for this page? So under secondary dimension, I'm going to add start page this time. That's going to show me exactly which pages are triggering that search. This is not only a list of your content gaps, but it's the list of the pages that have the gap itself. It's amazing. Imagine, it's unbelievably useful, right? If you find out that like everyone who looks at this page is asking this question, everyone on this product is trying to figure out shipping times. It's basically just a few clicks. Analytics is telling you exactly which pages are missing which content. That is valuable, and that is zero opinions. I hopefully not expressed an opinion yet today. This is a pure, just straight data-driven decision-making. It's empathy. It's using analytics to basically survey my audience every day to see what they're looking for. And in fact, in this case, to see what they're not finding, and specifically see from where they're looking for it and not finding it. Victory, right? All of us can go make better decisions for marketing starting tomorrow. Starting today. You can do it later today. There's plenty of time today to run this report. It was, I think, 5 clicks maybe? Not much. So the search term is a valuable, powerful thing. William's here on the call. We're going to chat with him, I hope, here about search in a bit. But the idea from that report, data-driven empathy, search for every phrase that it lists there. What do you see? Do you have a page on that topic? Oh, our packing list page. Yeah, we've got one, but we called it what to bring. Oops, our audience calls it packing list. You need to optimize that page for the phrase that people are searching for. If you didn't have a packing list on your travel site and you see people looking for it, go make that. There's your content gap. That should be the very next thing you publish. And by the way, why are people searching? Should that have been somewhere more in a more visually prominent location? Should that have been in the main navigation? Should that have been linked from some other page, right? Where does someone want where do they realize they need a packing list? You get the idea. Frequently, people just are calling something the wrong thing, like, oh, earth moving and excavation. Wait, why is everyone searching for bulldozers? Because you called it earth moving. No one calls it earth moving. You know, your audience is telling you, this report is showing you that people call it bulldozers. Kind of a joke. William and I were laughing about this earlier. These are real slides. Local cable service provider in my area, I'm in Chicago. If you go to the search term there, you can see the top searches are cancel service. Start typing it in. Cancel service was searched for 32,000 times. If you actually search for canceled service, you're not going to find a page about it. They're not trying to help you cancel your service. Instead, the number one ranked page in their site search tool is how to change your service. And that page doesn't really mention canceled service. Not a great customer experience. They have no interest in improving the customer experience of this customer who's trying to leave. But that's a classic example where, in this case, the user can see the relative popularity of the phrase. But that makes the point. Let's all get on board with this type of SEO. I'm talking about SEO to optimize your own content to rank in your own search tool on your own website. Okay? Even if you hate SEO and despise Google, this is still something you should fully embrace because it's literally the experience of your audience, and they're trying to tell you what they want. By the way, if when you search for your brand, literally do the navigational query to search for your company, if there's a search box there, that's called the site linked search box. If you see that and use it, and the next page is still on google.com, look what Google did. They just searched for that query with site : as a search operator. They did an internal search of your site using their own search engine. If you don't love that, then you can add this script. We're sharing the slides. No one can remember this. I don't even know what half this stuff means. But when you add that script to your site, what it does is it tells Google to use your own site search tool, right? You only really let Google do this if your site search tool stinks, and most of them do stink. LucidWorks is going to show us an option for doing it better. But this is a way to make sure that your own site search tool is going to get that visitor, or you can remove it. There's a meta tag that will remove that site search. It's called no site links search box. Anyway, so we do have more control over what appears in Google than people often think. How about the FAQ page? Do you have an FAQ page? I sort of have an inherent dislike of FAQ pages because I feel like they're not intuitive. The site should kind of know what the information needs of the visitor are and answer those questions on the page where the question pops into their mind. That's intuitive web design, is the page anticipates my information needs and gives them to me in roughly a prioritized order. The visitor who reaches for the FAQ page was struggling to find something. They didn't want to have to scan through that. But if you've got it, you can look it up in analytics. There's the page. Click to drill down on that page. And then if you go to the navigation summary to see how people navigate around your FAQ page, you get the previous page path. Again, content gaps. This is another report of broken dreams. This is a list of all the pages that were somehow unsatisfying. So unsatisfying, in fact, that the visitor had to reach for the frequently asked questions page, which is such a vague label, right? What is this page? Just a bunch of questions? Like, that's not an ideal experience, right? The pages should, the answers to those questions should be on the pages where the question popped into the visitor's mind. Where do those questions pop into their mind? That's it. It's showing you right there. There's a list. The previous page path for your FAQ page is a list of pages that are somehow unsatisfying. So what are the questions those people might have on those pages, right? Are other visitors asking those questions, right? So think about use this as data-driven empathy. Another trick is if you have an FAQ, if the UX of your FAQ page has expandable content areas, like the accordions, where you click to expand, and you add a tool called like Hotjar or Crazy Egg or Lucky Orange. Who came up with these names? These are click heat map tools that will show you what people click on your page. So looking at a page like this, if I add Hotjar to it, I can see which of those FAQs are frequently asked indeed. Some of those may be rarely asked, right? Who came up with the F in the FAQ? Did you use data to determine that those were in fact frequently asked? Or was it a group of people who kind of made it up using their opinion or their best guess? It's a survey. Every interaction, it's like a giant survey. Websites are just, website visitor behavior is trackable. Therefore, if you use if you find that data and use that data to make decisions, then you're basically letting your current visitors' experience inform the experience of future visitors, provided you fill the content gap. You take this advice, you take action. So here's another example. Frequently asked, I obscured the client name, but you can see, these are real questions. No one's asking these questions. Literally, these are infrequently asked questions on a page called FAQ. So that's a way to inform that. So basically, move your top questions to your top pages, to the pages where the questions are asked, or reorder the list, right? Remove FAQs that are not getting asked. And really, these are also content marketing opportunities. Everyone is asking that question. Have you answered that in detail in a piece of content? If not, golden opportunity. Your audience just told you that's what they really want from you, right? Take advantage of this data, right? Like you're going to get content ideas right away as soon as you click through some of these reports. Another one, and this is the second place where your audience is literally typing into a box exactly what they want from you, is the chat tool. It takes time. The tools aren't really built for it. I find it a bit kludgy to kind of try to find these insights. But if you scan through enough chat logs, you're going to find common questions. And you're going to realize that there's content gaps on these pages where people are asking these questions. We do website migrations sometimes. We're a web development company, so migrations are natural conversation topic. I've never written about it. I don't deal with it on the page. I've never talked about it at all. I'm not, this is a wake-up call for me. This slide is giving me insights about my own audience. I found this just by digging in through whatever. I think we're using Drift here. Now, search is also a way to validate potential topic ideas. If you search Google for brand plus blog, you've got an active content program that's mature and you've been publishing things for a while, Google may actually tell you exactly what it has deduced to be a topic of interest to your audience. Fascinating, right? Like, look at that. Just try this. It's going to show you. Google's actually, it's got like giant AI, thousands of math PhDs figuring out like what visitors want. This is what they're telling you about your own site. So Google thinks that those are the topics that people like the most. And look at that. There's a people also ask box. Whoa, that is an instant topic idea. So this is using Google itself to inform decisions. It's a powerful research tool for the content marketer. Obviously, couldn't be a better time to be a content marketer, considering how rich the search results are on Google and what a shortcut that can be to validate an idea. Also, if you just search for the brand without the word blog, awesome business, Aprimo, they manage marketing resources. It's a platform for managing marketing resources. If you put in Aprimo versus, this is what Google believes to be the competitive set. Very interesting. You can do some competitive analysis. Or just start typing letters of the alphabet. It's going to give you a list of things that other people search for. Aprimo, developer, pricing, demo. Oh, wow, demo. Let's search for that. Go search for all these, right? You can do it during lunch. Aprimo demo. Where's our demo? Oh, here's our demo. But it's not called demo. Why don't we call it a demo? Visitors are searching for this. Let's try to make this, help the visitor follow the information sent and get to what they're looking for faster. Call it what people call it. Again, it's not about us, it's about them. Data-driven empathy. The audience is the ultimate verdict on what we should label things. Pretty boring to search the next letter of the alphabet, type that in 26 times. There are tools. Here's one, keywordtool.io will scrape out of Google every phrase that Google would have suggested had you typed the next letter of the alphabet 26 times. So here they all are. You're going to get, some of these will be content ideas and help you fill gaps. Others of these you'll choose to ignore or not touch. But if nothing else, search for all of these. This is what people think of when they think of you. That's what people think of when they think of you. And just searching for your brand, you'll get a lot of interesting ideas. Site links, those are pages that should be prioritized. Keep those updated. Google's pushing people toward them. Are competitors bidding on your brand? Let them have it. Let's either make a friend or treat them like an enemy and bid on theirs. What other companies are people searching for? Those may be partners. What do the people also ask questions telling us? Those things that we haven't yet answered in content. Could we answer those questions in our Google My Business page? That's an easy win. Google's telling you that people want answers to these questions. You can put Q's and A's in your business.google.com, in your GMB. Why not move them over there, right? Answer it right there. Get them to interact with the knowledge panel instead of just with Google search results. And then also you can see if you've got some reputation issues. So these are all just ways. These are just branded SERP analysis recommendations. That's what I call it. The branded query SERP, the navigational query. People search for your company's name if you haven't done it lately. I can imagine how many of you are just tabbing over and searching. Wait till we're done. You get the idea. You're going to get pretend you're the audience. The ultimate advice: pretend you're your audience for 10 minutes a week. It's going to do wonders for your marketing. True story. There's a planetarium in Chicago that is a venue for weddings. But when you search for Adler Planetarium Wedding, which is one of the top searches for their brand, you got this photographer's website. Why? Because they didn't have a page about weddings. Look at the top page. It's just called private events. They need a page about weddings. Content gap. Instantly easy to fill, right? They have a right to rank. They are the Adler Planetarium. Why does this photographer outrank them for a branded query? It's sad. It's unnecessary. It's a missed opportunity, right? They're just helping this photographer. They should actually have, control that experience and own that, that visitor. It's the visitor's looking for them after all. But the audience is the ultimate source of topics. Simply listening. I think this is, I'll share with you a couple of stories about this. These are some of the just easy wins, but there's forethought required. So angry stock photo guy calls me up and, we build websites and he's cranky about his current web developer. Everyone's got a nightmare story about their web developer. So I keep hearing these complaints. So I came up with this idea, this was years ago, to keep a notepad next to my desk and write down every complaint that everyone told me about their web developer. That's all I did. So for a year, I took notes on all these random conversations I had with these cranky people. And at the end of the year, I had this giant list of all these complaints that people said about web developers, right? So there they are, right? I forgot sometimes, obviously, but I captured enough. There were 27 complaints here. So in the end, I published an article called 27 Complaints About Web Design Companies. Quite simple, right? The analysis that I did that went with the article showed that although people hire web developers based on like design skills, nobody's happy or sad with their web developer based on their design skills. In the end, you're all happy or sad, you're thrilled or you're angry about your web developer based on the service provided. Did they call you back when you needed help? Would they have did they staff their support queue? And like, are they a good partner in the long run, right? So it was interesting that, the reasons why people choose a developer isn't the reasons why people are satisfied or dissatisfied later on. So that was part of it. Made a word cloud from it, overpromised, right? And then the page goes live. There's not a lot of activity on that topic. It ranked #1 for years. Web design complaints. Think about the experience. What's the true story in the life of that visitor? Good way to think about it. There's a true story in the life of every visitor to every web page. What's the true story in the life of this visitor? They're angry. So people who search for this land on this page, 31,000 visitors to that page over the years. Not a hard piece to publish. Just forethought. Just capture those as notes. And it just keeps attracting more and more comments. It's like a rant. It's like people just complain, like there's a lot of, that's a lot of comments, right? 56 comments. By the way, the comments itself are almost an interesting content opportunity. Whatever words the audience is using in the comments, right? They're like ignorant Neanderthals. I should use that word in my content because that's the audience sharing their language with me, right? Those words people use in the complaints, that's the audience sharing their language with me. Everything is an opportunity. Every insight, every word uttered by your audience is an opportunity to realign your content with the psychology of your visitor, your current visitor, or of your future visitor. So the idea here is simply to never waste a good conversation by having it in private. Social media marketers have known this for years. Never waste a conversation by having it in private. Let's capture these things and have that conversation publicly. Put that, turn inside out. The most important audience to listen to, and this will be, and then we'll have a conversation here, but I'm going to wrap on this one topic because very few things are as important or as effective as this one. The people who are in your current sales pipeline may have common needs. So, for example, I get a question from a friend. I'm using Kyle Ackerman, my old friend Kyle's face in this presentation. I use him a lot. He's not an angry stock photo guy, but he's just a friend of mine I throw into the presentation. So let's say Kyle's a prospect, and I propose something to him, and he has a question for me. What if this happens? Or what if I'm selling, to Avinash Kaushik? Why did I choose him? Avinash is asking, as a question about our process, right? How would your team handle this situation? Or good meeting you. I'm still a little bit unclear about X. I'm getting in, and the reps, the sales reps who get these questions don't have that circuit that the content marketer has implanted in their brain that automatically triggers like, oh, that's a topic idea. They just answer the question. They'll send the email, right? The salesperson's sent email folder is a goldmine for topic ideas, right? You just go steal a laptop of your top reps and see what questions they're getting, how they're answering those questions, right? They're market testing their audience all the time. They're testing different answers all the time. So whatever that topic is, right, you identify those as the most common questions from your most important audience, your prospect, right? Most important audience. And then you can just, for example, if everyone's asking in our world, how do you protect my current rankings? I'm not just going to say, good question, I'll explain. I could do that, but that would be wasting a conversation by having it in private. If I hang up the phone and think, wow, that was a perfect answer. I wish I'd recorded that. Yes, that's what I'm suggesting. You record that conversation. So the next time someone asks, you don't say, I'm glad you asked. You could say, I'm glad you asked. I'm sending you a link to a piece that explains that topic in detail, that goes through all the steps, that overwhelms them with your thorough process, the key insights that are far beyond what they imagined you would have answered, right? And that piece of content is now portable, right? So Kyle says, great, wow, you got that covered. I'm going to send that to Dave, who, by the way, missed this call. There's other decision makers, right? If anyone here is in B2B, long sales cycle, multiple decision makers, high consideration decisions, content is the most powerful sales tool you've got. It's the best sales and marketing alignment and bottom of funnel content is worth 10 or 100x of what another top of funnel blog post list is. So these are ones that I think are some of the best opportunities. I am a huge fan. This piece, and it's fun to write. I wrote a piece about these are best practices for a B2B service page. Couldn't care less if it ranks. Page views mean nothing to me. Don't care, because it's made to show in a meeting, right? To show it to the person who's the prospect. They can share it with someone else. You put it in Zoom chat, they're going to all talk about it at their next meeting. Oh yeah, we talked to 5 possible partners, but this one taught us more. So it's portable, it's durable, and it makes and it's for your most important, potentially profitable audience. If there's a content gap there, that's the one I would prioritize. Always prioritize from the bottom up, right? Start with bottom of funnel. Conversion focused, in sales funnel first, but then the marketing funnel, conversion focused elements first, things like the contact page and calls to action. Those are going to be higher impact, sales focused content rules. And I think that's what we had, but I don't want to miss this opportunity because we got William right here from LucidWorks, and we can go deeper on that magical source of topics, which was the site search tool. William, are you still with us here?
I am. Thanks, Andy. That was a great presentation. So I loved hearing all your thoughts.
It's, I think CMI is a pretty sophisticated audience. So I think that probably most people already were doing many of those things. But if everyone got a nugget or two today, then I'm happy. So William, you're listening to this audience all the time. You talk to people every day. LucidWorks has some powerful technology to improve the site search tools on websites. And so you're a deep expert on this one topic. We're going to open it up to Q&A. And again, anyone here, if you have questions, please just drop them into the Q&A. We're going to get to everything we can. But I'm going to take the luxury first of discussing the site search thing with William from LucidWorks here first. Question one that we have here is, what are the benefits of increasing site search traffic and usage if your current site search usage is less than 2%?
Yeah, Andy, that's a great question. It's always interesting. Like we look at analytics for a lot of our customers, right? Even customers who come to us and say, hey, my site search is a problem and I gotta fix it. We really look at their analytics and there's like, well, you're not getting actually that much traffic, right? It's less than 5%, less than 3%, 2%, right? And to me, always says a couple things, right? So when I look at, some of those analytics, I look at the personas and some of the same analytics that you've shown, right? I always tend to see there's usually about 3 personas out there, right, that, actually reach for the search bar, right? And that's the question that I usually try to answer with customers is, well, what exactly are you trying to solve for, right? Are your personas specifically, struggle personas, right? And Andy, you talked a lot about that today, which is, this is someone who has maybe found a page through browse navigation, right? Or they looked at a page, they didn't see any follow-up content, right? And they wanted to find more content, right? So now you've got kind of a last chance here, right? Either they reach for that search bar that you might have hit it somewhere on the page, but you didn't want someone to go find it, or you might have put it pretty prominently, which means you're usually pretty confident, right, that someone can find what they're looking for in search. So, that kind of takes that next medium and step in their user journey on trying to find content on your site, right? So that's usually the first persona. And sometimes when someone is struggling, right, whether they land on your site and maybe it's not even your responsibility to have the right piece of content, which is like Andy, you showed, I want to cancel my service, right? That might be a whole nother website, right? But, people still come to your primary website and that's still an opportunity, right, for you to be able to service them properly to get them to where they want to go before, they completely leave. They might have already made the decision to leave. We want to make sure that they leave on a good note, right? And to me, there's also another persona out there, which is that I call it a search first persona. And that's, when you've got folks like Google and Amazon who have trained people to say, hey, I see a search bar, it's the first thing I want to go to, right? And, in those cases, we just want to make sure that, hey, if we're going to try to increase our site traffic, right, let's get really confident in the ability to say that it doesn't matter what they're looking for. If they look for that search bar, we're able to still service them with the content that we have, right? So, but if you can't service them through search, they're probably going to leave anyway, right? Because they're not going to just hang around if a search doesn't work, right? They're just going to be like, yeah, can't find what I'm looking for. I'm going to take off. I'm going to go to a competitor, right? So there's tons of benefits to increase your site search traffic specifically in general. And a lot of that just comes through, can you help those people who are struggling? Can you also service those people who go to search first, right? And also, the more traffic you get in search, the better understanding that you have, through all the metrics, Andy, that you showed in terms of understanding what your users are actually looking for, right? Because it's a little bit more than just a heat map, right? That 1-2%, they tend to be golden nuggets that you really don't get anywhere else, in terms of just actually listening to the voice of your customer.
Oh, and I think it's an important point about analytics more generally. It's like, so even if the number's low, let's say it's 0.1%, which on my site, the search is only on the blog, and it's literally 0.1%. I'm looking at a report. That's still hundreds of people per year. So low percentages are misleading. Every number in analytics is a human who is a potential buyer or advocate, someone who can, a chance for something good to happen. So when it's like accessibility. They'll say, oh, there's only, 5% of people have a disability. That's a lot of people. Or when they say scroll heat maps, oh, only 10% of people make it to the bottom of this page. And you can have that page for years. That's going to be thousands of people over time. And every one of those people is a human who we can help. So it drives me crazy when people say like, oh, that's only a very tiny percent. Yeah, but don't they matter? If you had a store and you saw that 2% of people couldn't open a door, you'd fix the door right away. I don't know, I get cranky about that. Okay, we'll keep going. I got another question. Site search investment or SEO investment? That's such an interesting question.
Yeah, I know you and I were discussing this topic just right before we both hopped on. You made a good analogy, and would you rather have breakfast or lunch, or should we just make it brunch, right? And obviously, being a part of a search company, there's always a big tongue-in-cheek for me, and it's like, hey, I think that you should invest in site search and not SEO, and I think a lot of people are tired of hearing about SEO, but from my perspective, right, Google has set a standard right now that either we play their game or we don't play their game. And in our opinion, in some ways you should play that game, right? There's a lot of monetary value in playing that game at some level. And for us, as we are thinking about site search specifically for customers, we actually said, hey, most companies are playing the game out in the world, right? So what we want to make sure as we reflect, in terms of, someone investing in site search, is that we're able to compound that value that you've already invested in SEO, right? So if you've taken the painstaking effort to create things like sitemaps, right, which means that, you've really taken a look at your content, you've figured out how to separate or segregate it, into a sitemap, index, and then put all of your content, your blogs, into separate things, right? That actually means you have really clean data on your site. And that's actually something I think that's pretty rare in the world, when someone says, oh, I feel like my data is actually really clean. I feel like my content's really clean. I understand where it belongs on my site, right? So now that you've done that, a good search engine should be able to come in and not only figure out, hey, I see that they have a sitemap. Let me go grab this content. It's going to be really clean, right? It's going to be cleaner than what Google comes in and picks up, because they're just going to go across your entire site. All right. So when you're looking, at, investing in things like SEO and putting effort into meta tags, right? Just know that, search engines, especially ones that service your website specifically, they should be able to take advantage of that, right? And, the more we found, customers moving away from, we'll call it SEO best practices, whether they had some weird requirement on their site that someone came up with, right? And then when we came in there, or when Google comes in there, can't make heads or tails of it, right? And once we kind of got them back on that track, right, they were able to actually say, hey, my site works better, it loads better, Google's finding it better, your stuff works really well, right? So, a best practice, is always, kind of what we aim to do, and I think what a lot of folks should really consider as they look at, whether or not they want to invest in SEO or site search. My goal is always to say, hey, site search should take advantage of everything that you've already done.
Yeah, totally agree. It's like saying, do I want more visitors or do I want happier visitors? We should really be advocates for our current visitors first. I was starting with the bottom of the funnel. I would take, I don't know. If you've got a site search that's frustrating and the data's, a lot of site search is hard these days because visitors have such high expectations after using Google. they come to your site and they use like the default WordPress site search plugin, and the results stink. So, we have to at least consider upping our game. Okay, question 3. As we talked a lot about content gaps today, how can I use site search to identify content gaps? I feel like we already went through that. Any other thoughts? Yeah.
I mean, we've covered this, quite at length. I think there's only 2 examples that really come to mind that a good search engine could probably add onto your site. One is just around 0 result searches, right? And I know Google, I think, tracks this at certain levels, but this is the biggest potential content gap, right? And ignoring things like things being misspelled and things that just don't make sense within your 0 result searches, right? Like, this is just a very easy, hey, like, someone came to my site, search, got 0 results, most likely exited pretty quickly after that, right? There's probably some either, hey, I need to add some additional metadata, meta tags to my current content, or I'm just missing content, specifically to service this particular aspect of search, right? And the opposite also applies to this when you've got a lot of popular searches, right? But they actually have very little engagement, right? That means, hey, I'm bringing back results, right? And, that could tell me that I'm actually doing well, but, what people are actually engaging with is actually pretty low, right? They're either not clicking, they're not finding, or they're just actually, we just call it repeat searching, right? And they're trying to find, right? So I think like those are the only 2 things I think I could add onto that. But Andy, you've already covered so many great things on how you can find and identify content gaps through Google Analytics. And I think those are just 2 other small ones that would be interesting adds to that.
Those are good ones. That last one, I think there's data in analytics for that percent search refinements. Maybe there's like that, like, are they searching again, the repeat search? How can you use site search behavior and voice of customer to engage with best content?
Yeah, no, this is a great topic. And I think from an opportunity perspective, right, there's probably easier ways to direct your customers to actually what they want, right? If you're seeing it like anything from, looking at your keywords, right? I remember opt out being a very specific keywords, right? If you're seeing keyword patterns for opting out and you're seeing that same content, right? It's probably somewhat prudent that there's an understanding, at least within your organization or within your enterprise, right? That, do we need to make this easier for, customers to find? Right. And, this, starts to think, even beyond, the website. And at LucidWorks, we tend to think a little bit that way, too, when we think about search. Right. Which is, what other aspects of my organization can I get some of this information of customers coming in, right, and affect other organizations? Obviously make the importance of content, across the whole enterprise really important. So in that case, right, if you're seeing specific patterns that you want to take action on, right, if you want to place something more prominently on your website, place it in navigation, right, these are great items that you can take this traffic behavior, and then obviously you already have an idea of what you should call, that navigation, right? And when we look at it from a search perspective, right, we want to take that type of information from like Google Analytics, like give, digital marketers, content owners the opportunity to say, hey, like, I don't think your search engine is quite right. And that's okay. Like, people come to us all the time. You're like, I don't think your relevancy is right. And I'm like, that's cool. Go ahead and go make that change on your own, right? And that's, one way that you can take information, influence the ranking of your search results, to say, hey, like, these are the things I believe that are really important, right? Or, there are opportunities out there where the search engine can just take that type of information and just do all the re-ranking for you, so you can be more hands-off, allow your customer traffic to just say, hey, engage your users with the content that they're already engaging with to begin with.
Do you work with companies that have more than one website?
That's
like cross-domain issues, or I mean, are the opportunities isolated per domain, or is like a federated search? How do you? We work with a lot of clients like that. Do you have any ideas there?
Yeah, I mean, often you find this even in small companies as well. There's a propensity for customers to happen to stumble upon, kind of your home website, right? Your website that you present to the world. But they also, are looking for something. They might already be an existing customer and they don't know where your support page is, right? They may be someone coming in that is looking for a different part of your organization, right? And this is, when I harken back to the SEO best practices, where you don't necessarily want to place some of those things out in the public-facing Google, right? That means that, you've got content that you don't necessarily want people to be finding, but you also want to be able to service the customers that you already have, right? Even if they happen to go directly to your home website, right? So when you're thinking about content that comes from your other domain, you don't necessarily want to say, hey, I want to override a lot of the relevancy of my other content, right? But often content that's coming from a separate domain, you mentioned FAQs earlier, right? Those are aspects of things that you could place into your search engine. So that way, your entire FAQ page, while it may not necessarily get a lot of hits, right, you're actually servicing customers directly out of your search bar as opposed to the FAQ page. That way, you're able to take that voice, rather than looking at a heat map perspective, you're able to take that voice of the customer and then be able to analyze, hey, like, how are my customers asking questions, right? And are any patterns there, right? So that decision to include content across domains, I think, we look at it and call it global search, right? Also mentioned as federated search, but we look at it as global search, right? Which, might pull information from other aspects, other websites. Could be your docs website, could be your FAQs, it could be maybe a knowledge base that you may want to service out to customers, right? While your content's really important, right, you may have other personas that come in. It might be someone that's really techie who doesn't really care about the content. They might have already said, someone's already told them, hey, like, go make a decision on this from a tech perspective, and they're going to go to your site and go straight to your docs, right? So if you service them through search, right, then that way they can go directly to it as opposed to having to maybe sift through your site. I remember I go to a lot of tech sites being a tech person, and I was like, where are the docs? I can't find their docs. I look through all the navigation, and I'm like, the bottom of the page, top of the page, go to the search bar, start searching for documentation, right? So there's a lot of opportunities there where, your website, if you strategize and plan around it correctly, can also serve a lot of aspects across your entire enterprise, and there's a lot of monetary value to be gained out of doing that.
I'm so glad you're here. What a luxury to take full advantage of that extra time. William, I love your brain and your insights, and just anyone here who is on this call. If you search for things on your own website and the experience stinks, if it doesn't autocomplete, if you see 0 search results, there's better ways to do this. At least get a demo. Reach out to William, or just take a look at what's out there, because people have solved this problem, and he's right here in front of us. So I don't know. I don't mean to speak for you here, but hopefully you'll be available to chat with people who want to do a better job for their visitors on the search tool.
Appreciate it, Andy. Thanks for having me here today.
And let's invite Stephanie back. Maybe we got a couple other questions that we can answer here with the remaining time.
We do. Thank you both for addressing those discussion questions that we came up with beforehand. But we do have a number of questions from the audience as well. Let's see. This one from Tom, who, by the way, Andy says he's really enjoying your book. And yeah, and do you have a new version of that coming out soon too?
There are, I think, 100 copies left on Amazon, and when those are gone, they're gone. The next version, supply chain issues, paper, I don't know. Books are weird to me. I'm used to just, digital publishing. But yes, version 6 is going to be out probably in the fall.
Awesome. Okay. Well, Tom's question here is, our company is just starting its content marketing efforts, and our analytics numbers are still around 50 to 100 views. Any tips for maximizing engagement while still building your audience? And by the way, Tom is with a healthcare company, just so you know.
Okay. Counterintuitive advice. If I had a young content program, I would probably publish at least half of my articles on other people's websites. Just guest post. Your audience will grow faster. Your search rankings and authority will grow faster. Your your network and writing skills will grow faster. I spent about 3 years where 2/3 of my content was published on other people's websites, and it's just, those early days are such a slog, and you'll probably connect with more people much more quickly if you publish for other websites. Having said that, that's all going to be easier if you put 3 or 4 very in-depth, large, possibly research pieces on your site first. Don't worry about traffic at first, but I would go all in on some 50+ hour content projects, ideally original research, some really strong counter narrative opinion pieces. That'll make the outreach to guest posts better. They give you something to link back to when you write for other websites. And you'll have a very strong pillar or cornerstone, whatever you want to call it, on your site to do internal linking forever after for everything that you do publish later. So it's frustrating, very little data in the beginning. It's just normal, but you can continue to do competitive analysis and keyword research. There's lots of other sources for topics and ideas. People also ask Box for your important phrases. I just answer all those questions on your own content. But yeah, write for other sites, but put a few large, super deep, high quality pieces on your site first.
Great advice. William, anything to add there?
Nothing specific to add there. No, that was a great question. I think Andy hit the nail on the head. Just continue to reach out and create partnerships, and publish, and get on social media. All those things combined just continue to grow your presence and grow your company's presence.
Yeah, and the great thing about having original research too is you can use that in so many different ways. So many pieces of content that can spin out of that, whether it's for your website or for social or anything else. It's very powerful. So great advice. Let's see. Marianne has a question that comes up a lot. What are your thoughts on gated content and the impact on this?
Well, if we're being strategic and we put on a content strategy as we consider the possible answers, you should ask first, like, are you able to meet your goals without it? Because there's lots of content programs, mine is one of them, that has never gated any content and still generate plenty of page views and traffic and rankings and leads every day. So it's not a foregone conclusion. Content or marketing automation systems are more or less based on this strategy, because you're trying to grow your email list or get people to become a lead. They call them leads. I don't think they're real leads by my definition, but if you can get someone to click, to give their email address to get the download, now you can put them on a welcome series, and all kinds of other good things happen. But I think gating content is kind of, in many cases, keeping your best stuff away from the widest audience. It could reduce maybe the ability of content to attract links. I think of content marketing as a giant test of generosity, and the brand or individual that gives away the most helpful, useful advice sort of wins the largest audience and trust. So I think that it's a strategic question that has to do with your list growth goals. Do you have stuff that's worthy of gating? And do you have a platform that's ready to make, to squeeze the most value out of those email signups? I don't think they're leads. But it's not necessarily the case that you need to. So do it if you have to meet your goals, but maybe not. Consider the options.
I love that giant test of generosity. I had to write that down. That was fantastic. Yes, agreed. William, any thoughts there?
I really like the comment, Andy, that you made that, it's a strategic decision, right? And if you want gated content, there probably have specific goals, right, in mind, and at least hopefully have specific goals in mind for that gated content. And I think a little bit about like exclusivity around gated content, right? If there is a pattern that you're seeing that is, kind of monetarily earning you value through that, then I would say absolutely there's probably value to it. But, I'm always a fan of, sharing content, keeping it public. Lucidworks itself, obviously, partially in sponsors and open source, software solutions. So we're always big on, keeping things open, keeping things public. Right. So, but if there's a strategic value in doing gated content, I would say absolutely. And, just make sure that the metrics that you're seeing from that, are obviously meeting the goals that you have in mind.
Awesome. Lots of people really liked your your report of broken dreams, Andy. It's fantastic. And this isn't a question, but I'm just going to read it for others attending. This is from Jill. She said she used that report trick a while ago. She was looking for content ideas, discovered people were searching for terms like pay my bill, and it wasn't easy to find that in the search results page. So she shared that with the website folks. They made an update to the nav bar, and now they're making people very happy because they can figure out how to pay their bill right away. So great example, really, really great example. So let's see here. I like this question because this has been a little bit of internal debate around my parent company. What are some guidelines for removing content, older blog posts, for example? When is the right time to archive posts? And is there a downside to it?
I once did a roundup of 10 for the. It comes up a lot for SEO. It's like Google only has so many resources that are going to apply to your website, to crawl your website. And if you guide them toward better stuff, then You're not wasting Google's crawl budget, they call it. So I did an SEO-focused post on this. It's like purge, they call it, right? And I had like 8 contributors. I disagreed with all of them. So I'm going to give you some counterintuitive advice or some unpopular advice. Hoard your content. It doesn't cost you anything. It's not a problem for Google unless you have tens of thousands of URLs. Moving or removing old URLs can cause problems. There's no cost or risk or harm in having a body of out-of-date work. It doesn't hurt to remove it, but it also doesn't help. Therefore, it is low ROI work. So that's my kind of counterpoint to that idea that we should all clean off all the old stuff. I believe it's true. Amazon has never deleted a URL. Why don't they do that? Why would they do that? How would that help them? They have such a massive domain authority that Google applies a very, very large crawl budget to them. So anyway, if you do it, the best advice in that post I did was from Dan Shore, who said, do it because it feels good. It's nice, right? It's like cleaning out like unengaged followers or like purging your email list. Those have actually maybe more tangible impact. So I don't know, if it's a strategic question, ask yourself, what is the benefit? What is the specific benefit of doing that? Which in many cases you might not find one.
Great advice. Love it. William, anything to add there?
No, I don't think necessarily I'm the correct subject matter expert, I think, on, how Google specifically reacts to older content. From a search perspective, I mean, I have been asked, can you please maneuver my mainframe content into the search index some way, somehow? And we're like, sure, okay. Like if that's information that's important to you and your constituents, then sure, like we will maneuver. And that was a site search use case, but talking about how old things get and how people want to have things to be found, right? For us and from a search perspective, we don't really have any type of bias against older new content. Right now, you can configure your search engine to, be more biased towards newer content, right? You can configure it to be level, right? Usually people don't configure the search engine towards older content. But often it's just good to let the search engine do its thing, right? And if someone's looking for something older, right, they might be, someone whose legacy and, knows you from 10 years back or plus, right? And they might be looking for content from that era, right? So it's good to let the search engine do its thing. And then, if there is a priority on certain pieces of content that's newer, then, put the priority on that when you're looking at it from a search perspective.
Yeah, historical perspective matters. Love it. Love it. Okay, question here from Amanda. Do you recommend using reputation stats and reviews as a potential tool for finding gaps?
I know that people do that sometimes in the competitive context, where they will scour their competitors' reviews to look for ways to differentiate, to find out what the triggers are for the buyer, or on which points is your audience sensitive to, service or product features. So I've known people to go through competitors' reviews. Reviews, I think most of the utility in my experience has been to find the best reviews and try to use them to strengthen the page about which that review is relevant. In other words, it's a conversion rate tactic by adding social proof to the pages that are specifically about that, where the review actually is relevant to that service or product. But I don't have any other ideas beyond that, really. I mean, I've never really used reviews to find content gaps, although I wouldn't be at all surprised if other people here have done so successfully.
Excellent. All right. Let's see. Let me squeeze in one more here. Maybe this one for you, William. What is your thought on updating and republishing content and the impact it might have on search?
Usually there's not too much impact on search. Again, if you've configured your search engine to take, we'll say, newer content, right, we'll pick up on that aspect, right? So, if your sitemap updates and says, hey, like this last modified is now suddenly this week as opposed to a month ago, if you've got your search index already configured to take advantage of, more recent content, then that's actually a very automatic process. Personally, again, this isn't necessarily my my forte, right, in terms of, understanding how this affects Google and SEO specifically. But, to me, I mean, updating content, I think, is never bad. I also, being a search person and obviously using the mainframe reference again, have a penchant to say, let's keep things around that, people have used to seeing. It could be a reference or something like that, someone even on an older product that they could need, they might be looking for a blog. I remember writing some blog, I think like 10 years later, someone reached out to me. It's like, hey, have you ever updated this thing? I'm like, no, I haven't. And then they went back. I'm like, oh, but it still works. Right. And if I had updated it maybe to the latest, it wouldn't have worked with their product. Right. So there is value in keeping some things around that, have been around for a while. Maybe, unless like you've retired a product completely and nobody's using it, there might be a need to just say, hey, let's just update this piece of content to make it work. Right. But I think there is a strategic level of decision that you want to make there to make sure that, you're supporting your customers that, may or may not be, on a certain product or platform if you suddenly decide to update a piece of content.
Love it. All right. Thank you both for so much great advice, so many good tips. There are so many comments in the Q&A box about thank you, sharing this with my CEO, preach, all kinds of stuff here. It's great. So for those of you who have questions in here that we didn't have time for, don't worry. We're going to share them with Andy and William. We will get some answers for you because there are a lot of really good questions that we don't have time for. But we invite you all to join us over at contentmarketinginstitute.com for more content around search related technologies and strategies and things like that. There's a lot of content that we offer there. And we'd also really like for you to join us in person at Content Marketing World in just 3.5 weeks. I'm wearing my Content Marketing World t-shirt today because I'm so excited about it, because both Andy and William will also be speaking at Content Marketing World. It's going to be a great show. These two are going to be talking about the future of SEO, adapting to a new low click-through rate reality. It's an important topic. We've got a lot of great content to offer you at the show. So please join us if you like. Hassan Minaj is going to be there to make us laugh because we all need more laughter in our lives right now. And we hope to see you there. Reminder, you'll get a link to the on-demand version of today's live recording in about 24 hours or so. Thank you so much to LucidWorks for making this possible. William, Andy, thank you for your time.
Thank you,
Bye,
Stephanie.
everybody.
Great to see you, William.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Thanks, Andy. Thanks.
Bye. See you in Cleveland.
Bye.